Hello everyone. In a video posted yesterday, I tried to look at the debate in the Parliament on the no confidence motion tabled by the India Alliance from the perspective of the youth of India. I have been thinking since then if I should take a position on this important national event myself. After a lot of hesitation, I have decided to share with you some of my thoughts. I do so realizing that I'm treading into dangerous terrains. Even so, the situations arise in the life of a nation when, regarding what happens to your skin, to the detriment of what happens to the soul of a country, is utterly reprehensible and irresponsible. Hence, these words. One of the things that struck me in the Prime Minister's speech, and as I said in the video yesterday, the only speech that I listened to with rapt attention from start to finish is the speech of the Prime Minister, because he is also my Prime Minister. As a Democrat, I am duty bound to hold the office of the Prime Minister in the highest esteem, and I do that. It doesn't matter to me which incumbent. The Prime Minister of the country is the Prime Minister of the country. Party labels do not matter to me. Therefore, if the Prime Minister of my country speaks, I listen to him in rapt attention and much respect, which I did yesterday. Now, one of the things that struck me is the absolute confidence that Sri Narendra Modi exuded about his continuation in the office. The fact that the NDA coalition led by the BJP will win the next elections and there will be a continuity in governance. Now, there are two ways in which this posture can be read. One is that it is a statement of absolute confidence about one's track record, that on the basis of the quality deliverance of good governance, Sri Narendra Modi is absolutely convinced that the people of India will stand solidly with him and the party, and therefore his winning the next elections, that is 2024 general elections, is a foregone conclusion. That's one way of reading it, and I hope that's the case. However, there is another way of reading it, and that is a situation has arisen, or it has been created, in which the outcome of general elections can be predicted with absolute certainty, irrespective of the deliverance of governance. Now, if that is the case, it's a very sinister thing. Now, in this particular context, insofar as the statement was made, or this posture was presented to the Parliament in the context of a discussion on Manipur, well, that was a context, even though the Prime Minister chose not to say much about Manipur. In fact, I'm personally grossly disappointed about the reticence, de facto reticence, that he chose to adopt vis-a-vis Manipur, though, whereas he should have been speaking on Manipur, and on Manipur. However, that's his choice. Now, insofar as the speech of the Prime Minister was located in the context of the discussion on Manipur, for the Manipur to say that his party will win and he'll continue in office in 2024, before the elections have been announced, before any practical step has been adopted towards the organization of the elections, unfortunately could carry to the people of India the idea that the strategy in progress in Manipur has something to do with the confidence that the Prime Minister exudes. I say this again, I sincerely hope that that's not the case. But all I'm saying is that to a dispassionate observer or a person who has no party loyalties and a person who is reasonably observant and who can connect two and two or connect the dots, given the context that the discussion is on Manipur, or the Prime Minister's statement is made in the context of discussion on Manipur, this absolute confidence that the Prime Minister exuded is apt to be understood by millions of people in this country as stemming from something that's being worked out in, or something that's being played out. It's very difficult to use appropriate words in contexts like this. Something that's playing itself out in Manipur. In which case the question will arise, what is that something? Now, it's not a grossly or comprehensively hidden secret that, as Subramanian Swamy said in one of his interviews, the only sure election winner in India, he said, is the Hindutva card. He says development is not going to win you elections. You have to play the Hindutva card. And playing the Hindutva card on the ground level involves, unfortunately, communal polarization. Again, I'm not saying that this is the truth about it. I have no idea. I'm only saying that the Prime Minister's speech and the Prime Minister's posturing is apt to, or could have the possibility or implication of suggesting to the people of India, especially neutral observers, people who do not belong to either of the camps, a person like me, for example, the idea that there could be a connection between that confidence and what's afoot in Manipur, in which case it's a very sinister thing. I don't want to say anything more about it because it's hard for me, it's heartbreaking for me even to contemplate such a possibility, because I do not endorse the words of Rahul Gandhi about Bharat Mata being butchered, etc. But I tell you that if the second reading is the valid reading, then indeed even a non-partisan person like me will have to repeat that strain. The idea of India as our motherland, our shared political, geographical home, will suffer a death blow. I pray to God that good sense prevail and that unthinkable processes and consequences may not erupt or may not be provoked in the interest of cynical electoral calculations. I'm going to leave the point there, though it's something that really gets me very greatly worried. The second issue that got me worried, again arising out of the Prime Minister's speech, as well as the Home Minister's speech, which too I attended to, I listened to, I heard him out. Now, both the Home Minister, more the Home Minister than the Prime Minister, maintained very firmly that there is no need to effect any change in the administrative leadership of the state of Manipur because the state government is cooperating adequately and perfectly with the central government. If it is, well and good, but there is a question. If the state government is cooperating splendidly with the central government and violence in Manipur is continuing unabated, what is the inference we are to draw? I can understand that the situation in Manipur remains recalcitrant or beyond remedy because there is no cooperation between the state administration and the central government. I can understand that to some extent, though there are constitutional provisions that the central government can invoke to handle such an emergency. That option has not been considered. And that option has not been considered on the plea that there is perfect harmony of interest and purpose between the state government and the central government. But on the ground, riots continue, lives are being lost, women are being raped, and the life of an entire state is paralyzed, and the state is sliced into two with a buffer zone in between, like something like demilitarized zone. And I'm particularly worried that women have to forego sleep at night in order to ensure the security of their lives. What do you talk about the law and order situation in a state like that? And it was in this light that the Apex Court of India, Supreme Court of India, said there is a complete breakdown in the law and order situation in the state. But the Prime Minister says that everything is fine. Perfect cooperation between the centre and the state, and therefore there is no need to bring about any political change, a change in the political leadership. Now, the question will arise, what is the intent of this cooperation? We accept the statement of the Home Minister in particular, that there is perfect unanimity of intent and therefore cooperation between the centre and the state. Fine. The question then arises as to what purpose is this cooperation working out? On available evidence, it is not working out to the effect of bringing the situation under control, in which case there is some intent and therefore the question is legitimate. What is that hidden intent? I leave this particular discussion on that question. The third thing that I noticed is this most pathetic, pathological, uncivilized, subhuman national trend that's referred to as whataboutery. The defense of the Manipur situation, mounted both by the Home Minister and the Honorable Prime Minister of India, was constructed entirely on the fact that similar situations happened under Congress government, under the watch of the Congress party. Of course they did. And who justifies them? The Congress is paying the price for it. It was not for nothing that the people of India booted the Congress out. Deservedly so, I have no hesitation in saying that. A government that betrays its people, a government that looks the other way when people are being butchered, killed, and women molested, raped, and then killed, deserves to be booted out, not perpetuated in office. So the Congress has, if it has been party to this, or if it has refused to act in a non-partisan fashion, upholding the rights of the citizens, then it has paid the price for it, and deservedly so. But let me ask you, I'm asking this to the citizens of India. Do you think this constitutes an adequate and justifiable excuse for not acting to bring the situation under control in Manipur? Let's think about it rationally. You have a relative in Manipur. I know some of my friends who married Meitei women, Kuki women, who are not from Manipur. I know a priest who married a beautiful girl, a Malayali priest who married a beautiful girl from the northeast. And actually I felt jealous of her. What a marvelous lady she was, and she is. She's still young. Now suppose you have a son who married a Meitei girl or a Kuki girl, and she's in the midst of this pogrom, this Holocaust, virtual Holocaust. You expect the Prime Minister to intervene and save her life. Instead, the Prime Minister says, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 38 years ago, when Congress was ruling India, all these things happened. So tell your daughter in Manipur, whose life is at risk, that the Congress party was also allowed these things to happen. And therefore, let us sit and grin and bear it. Do you think that is the response you want? But unfortunately, the Prime Minister of India thinks, the Home Minister of India thinks that that is a good enough answer. I'm sorry, it's not an answer. It's a mockery of the suffering of the people. I have to say this. And I'm saying this, realizing that I could lose my life for saying this. I will not be a human being entitled to walk on two legs if I don't say this. Well, again, I'm going to leave it because it's very difficult, far too painful to talk about such things. One final point, and I'm done. What's happening in Manipur? And the way things are shaping in this country must make every one of us sit up and think. You know, for a long time, all of us very smugly, unthinkingly, most irresponsibly endorsed the idea that politics is a game of expediency. Politics is the art of the possible. That is to say, you have a certain goal to be pursued in politics, which is the seizure and perpetuation of power. And what methods you use to do that doesn't matter. You don't have to be limited by ethical or idealistic considerations. Whatever works, you do. The politics of expediency. I'm sure the Congress party will agree with me that the politics of expediency landed them in the pits. Today they are paying the price for it. That's the reason why, when the Congress party assumes a moral high ground, it's very easy for the Prime Minister and the Home Minister to prick the bubble of their pretensions or their assumption of a compassionate poster, etc. And I saw the ridicule, the sarcasm that the Home Minister was heaping on Rahul Gandhi. Though Rahul Gandhi was nowhere in the picture when all these things happened. But I have to recall something here. I did not really want to reveal personal interactions. I remember calling on Rahul Gandhi, possibly it was in the year 2011, when he was still new to politics. And I was discussing the situation arising out of the Commonwealth Games of 2010, in which my college was involved. And I told him that the organization of Commonwealth Games 2010 was as an outright scandal. And I said that because I was absolutely convinced that Rahul was clean, impeccably clean. Today too, I will say the same thing about Rahul. He is not someone who will ever become corrupt. That I know for sure. And nobody in the world will persuade me that he will be otherwise. You can say anything about him, I may believe, but one thing I will not believe, that the young man is corrupt. He is not, and he'll never be. Take it from me. So I made bold to tell him, look, it's not enough that you stay clean. All these things are happening under the Congress-led dispensation of UPA 2. And now I'm going to quote you exactly the words I told him. I said, look, these bandicoots are eating your future bit by bit by bit. I said, take a stand in public. Disown them before it's too late. I'm sure Rahul Gandhi will not deny this conversation. But unfortunately, he did not do it for whatever reasons. He must have been counseled by people who are wiser than me not to do that. The consequence? For all the good intentions that Rahul has, for all the extraordinary efforts he is making, somehow there is a credibility gap. The sad thing is that poor Rahul is not responsible for it. All the rottenness of the party achieved by other people is falling on this young man. And that's the pity of it. I urge all parties, including BJP, to realize that this is something that no one should forget, because if it's the turn of the Congress today, the turn of BJP will come. Mark you my words. Nobody has any cosmic privilege. History treats everyone with the same measure, with the same degree of heartless exaction of justice. Every party will have to stand before the throne of judgment, history's throne of judgment. The plight of Congress today will be the plight of BJP tomorrow. Make no doubt about it. For all the euphoria that the Prime Minister showcases in on the calculation that this will have some kind of a special effect on the people of India and they will be swept off their feet and all that. Listen, you ask any philosopher of history, particularly Immanuel Kant, and even more than Kant, Hegel, they will tell you that history has a larger spirit. There is something far higher than human agency that works in the domain of history. Kant in particular, when his reflections on universal history, I would commend you to read. It's only about 30-35 pages, but every word is tremendous. Kant says that in history, things happen at two levels. First, the lower level, and on the lower level, individuals are acting as though they are absolutely free agents of action. And they're acting out of their self-interest, they're acting because of their power, drunk with power, and presuming that, somehow they have attained divinity. And this goes on. Then Hegel says that there is another plane, the higher plane, where another game is happening. And the people who are playing their games or acting out their games on the lower plane of history, they do not know that this is happening at the higher level. But when the final turn of the screw happens, they will realize too late that for all the sense of autonomy and freedom they had, and all the sense of exhilarating power that they had, for all the euphoria they entertained when they were acting, they were actually mere pawns on the cosmic chess game that's going on, completely unknown to the agents of action on the lower plane. I hope I made myself clear. It's a slightly complicated idea. Two levels of action, ultimately the higher level prevails, and then the heroes who strutted and showed off their might on the stage of politics and history, they become fools of the times, fools of the times. So this will happen to everyone. No one is exempted from this. So all political parties need to realize ultimately that there is a connection between politics and ethics, that there is accountability. Even if you have not 2/3 majority, even if you have 99% authority, you will have to be accountable, because history will push you down to the pits. In fact, I would recommend to my viewers Victor Hugo's novel, Les Miserables, which is available in Malayalam, Pavangal as the title. There's a long chapter on the Battle of Waterloo. It's a beautiful chapter. In fact, that's far superior history than any history book on Waterloo. Victor Hugo is an author for whom I have boundless admiration. Actually, this novel, very, very thick novel, Les Miserables, is one of my favorite novels. Now, in that description of the Battle of Waterloo, in which Napoleon was defeated, Victor Hugo raises a question: who defeated Napoleon? He says history defeated him. He says history defeated him because, these are the words he uses, because Napoleon presumed on things too much. Presumption. And ironically, without knowing all of this, Rahul Gandhi made an allusion to presumption in his speech. Though, of course, he used the example of Ravan, etc. I don't want to go into that. Therefore, I would share this particular reflection with leaders of all parties. Please be careful. Tomorrow will not be like today. Everyone has to stand helpless in order to give account for what one has done before the throne of history, where the same measure will be applied to everyone. And if you think that you can excuse your present abdication of responsibility invoking the failure of the Congress party, then you're completely wrong, because then you're trying to thrive on the failure of somebody. Simple logic, if you have logic, well, you must know that trying to thrive on somebody else's failure will also make you fail. If your alibi for failing today is that somebody else has failed, then you're actually choosing the path of utter failure. You may take a while to realize this, but it's my duty to tell you out of goodwill. Please understand. You may think, you may feel provoked, but this is the truth of history. So here it is. These are some of my reflections on what happened yesterday. सबको सम्मति दे भगवान, रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। ईश्वर अल्लाह तेरो नाम, सबको सन्मति दे भगवान। रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय।